Hey, how's it going? So last night, I think that stream went okay. I actually took it down because I accidentally leaked some environment variables. So hopefully I don't do that again tonight. So hopefully, and because I would like to keep this one up and available. And my thought is that I'm actually just gonna. So basically, with all the solo jam session stuff, I was originally actually hold on. Let me turn down my this Japan Troids track is a little loud in my ears. So yeah, so last night, um, just broke ground on skylounge.social and wanted to get some stuff up and running. It went a little slower than I thought it was going to go. And like I said, I shared some stuff, but the idea is that these jam sessions, these solo sessions, I really want to make them fun and like a series of just like building these different products. So kind of taking a little bit of a different thing where um, basically these jam session solos are going to be associated to a project, and that's why this one's going to start out at 001. This is specifically for building Sky Lounge. I might end up kind of starting a new numbering series for starter packs when I get into working on some of that stuff. But yeah, basically gonna get this stuff started and start setting up Bluesky Auth for Sky Lounge. And Sky Lounge is essentially going to be basically like a Twitter X or like a Twitter at X Spaces alternative for, kind of geared at Blue Sky first and foremost. So it should be fun. I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna monetize it or make it worthwhile, but I just think it's gonna be a fun project to work on. And sorry, just gonna post some links and some other stuff here real quick. But so yeah, I don't know, it should be fun. If anyone caught the stream last night, I did end up getting I launched the landing page, so I did finally get Photoshop to work. It took pulling down an update, and so that was fun. Um, I, I mean, I pretty much took what was basically there and just kind of stylized it. So it kind of almost has this I keep saying kind of, probably just because it's late. I don't know why Twitter's not loading here. But the landing page has a little bit of like almost like a band flyery vibe with the way that the sky in the background's kind of dithered and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it feels pretty good right now. But yeah, I just posted the Spotify Jam link in there. I don't know what's going on with Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's just not loading. So if you're on there, sorry, I want to share the link to the playlist with you, but it's not happening, I guess. So so yeah, let's just get into it. No sense in waiting around. Let me just double check and make sure I don't have anything funky up. Yeah, we don't want that. Not to say funky. I just don't want to share secrets. Environment variables again. And I have to delete another video. Cool. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, let's get going. So yeah, just make sure I'm looking at the right window here. Close some of the stuff down. So last night, like I said, actually I'll take you over to the, let me make sure I got this thing up and running. Take you over to the site just so you can see what made it out. But this is basically the landing page. uh, Pretty stark. Not the easiest thing to read. Looks way better on phone. So I was kind of going for that. So font stuff is still not where I want it. And actually I'm even playing around with what fonts to use. But if you, here, I'll bring it up real quick. But I do have this like actually I'm not going to be able to show you the thumbnail, but basically some space mono action going on. I think it kind of feels good. You see, I figure out how to balance it out. But we're not there yet. We're just going to go some technical stuff now. And we'll get some Bluesky Oauth set up and get that rocking and rolling. And if you have any, if anything, if you want to share anything that you're jamming on, let me know. Also, totally open call. Like if if someone's working on some stuff and they want to jump on the live stream, and talk about share what they got going on, let me know, because you're welcome. Welcome to join. Let's get over into code. Actually, I'm thinking I guess maybe I'll just do the terminal here so that way you can see some of the stuff I'm doing. So I have the auth library, which is under this nest libs nest auth. Then I have libs nest Prisma. Here, I'll bump up the size a little bit just in case it's not coming through clear. But I think the way that I set this up in starter packs is actually I had a connect controller, and I think that makes sense for this one too. So actually, let me make sure I should have nest, the NX nest in here. Yeah. Libs nest connect. And I probably will end up having to copy over some stuff from the starter packs directory, but just to make things go by a little quicker. But I will explain everything that I am bringing over along the way. So that should have added, yeah, the connect here. We have the lib, we have the connect module, that's cool. Now we're going to add a controller. So libs, nest, connect. I think this is this is like the only kind of weird thing. Is you have to do a lot of drilling, and you would think you'd be able to just kind of do like libs, nest, connect, and then it would pipe it in there. But I feel like I ran into some issues with that before. So we need that. And then I think we're also going to need a service. So we'll just get that one in there too. And actually thinking about it, I think there is a way to kind of get the two for a controller and a service, but kind of blanking on what that is right now. So okay. So we have our module. It now has the controller and the service. And yeah, I guess we want that too. Now I'm gonna go over here to starter packs and just grab some stuff real quick. So in the controller, it's always a little bit enlightening when you go back and you look at your code and you're like, man, I wrote a lot of stuff to get this stuff to work. And you'll shortly see that stuff here soon, I guess. Yeah, it's just amazing how sometimes you forget just how complex this stuff can get. So we need to pull in a bunch of stuff. And actually, I have a feeling that the Prisma service is probably going to need some stuff. Now that should be exported from the auth, I think. Oh, no, I just have that. That should solve that one. So we got our gets, our query, our rec res. Something still seems off. I think I said last night that I was gonna fix some of the setup in here, but I didn't get around to it. So we'll just have to just kind of fix it live. Oh yeah, and I have my create Bluesky client. And that stuff is because the request and res is actually the express ones, and I need to add express. Or is it already there? It might already be there. I need to add nano ID, I guess, to the dependencies. Oops. Make sure that this is on the right node version. So yeah, I need some nano ID. I guess I need this one as well. Oops. Yeah, we'll get this stuff rolling in here real quick. Now that agent is not what Cursor thinks it is. That agent is actually from the Bluesky API. So I'll grab that, and then we'll probably have to add that dependency real quick. I mean, you're getting all the rawness of this right here. All the dependencies, just piling them up. And that's probably just because I need to add the types. So yarn. No? What's going on here? Oh, that's right. Let's see what we got over here. Should resolve some of this stuff, I think. That's not, that's right, some of the compiler options. Let's see. So yeah, so this is also the thing that's kind of burning me a little bit last night. So I think what we actually need to do here is stop doing that. Yeah. So NX kind of changed the way that they do libraries now. They're always doing a package JSON, which I think makes sense because it's that way you can kind of name it at the package JSON. Keeps it a little closer to what you would typically like export out. But at the same time, it just makes dealing with some of this stuff a little bit inconsistent between what was there previous and what's there right now. But all right, so we have Prisma service, and I do have this Prisma service, but that doesn't like that. Connect doesn't exist on Prisma service. But I think the issue is really just the exported member from the client. So let's go to our Prisma client real quick. So we have a Prisma schema. It's probably because I got to regenerate all this stuff. Well, we'll get some more stuff in here real quick because I know there's going to be more stuff. So we need that create Bluesky client. which that thing is coming from, yeah, the Bluesky client lib. Yeah, it was a should just be like a JS one, right? Cool. So let's create that library real quick. Here, let me just clear this out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. JS lib. The way I structured this over here is like I created this directory. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So lib slash bluesky slash client. Actually, I don't think I need to worry about a bundler for this. So this is like the best thing about NX is you can kind of just start creating this stuff. And now you just start having these libraries that you can use all over the place. So the API there with the Bluesky the client, it's just this file. And we're just going to blow all this away. I'm going to need all these dependencies. And I even created a starter pack client. Wow. The tangled webs we weave. Oops. So we get those dependencies in. Let's see what this starter packs client is. Starter packs client. Oh. Actually, I don't know if I need this just yet. We'll see where we're using this. Yeah. I guess it makes sense. Obviously, this won't be a starter packs client. It will be a Skylounge client, but okay, so we're gonna do a directory for that, library for that too. So NextJS lib, and that'll live at lib slash Skylounge slash client. Oh, bundler linted test to find in multiple locations. Okay. Libs slash skylounge slash skylounge client or skylounge dash client. None. Okay. So I'm going to update this so it doesn't conflict. We'll call this the Bluesky client. Hopefully that'll work. Probably see how the as I say, I think I probably have to change the directory too. Sky client, sure. Sure, it's gonna miss something, but we'll try to find it. So fix that path. And then I guess if we really wanted to be consistent, I could rename this to Blue Sky Client. As well as the test. Which we will get around to writing, but not now. Not yet. So this would be Sky Lounge. Terminal / Sky Lounge client. And really, this Sky Lounge client, you're going to see it. You're going to see the starter packs client. Oops. What did I do there? Yeah, you're going to see it's just kind of a glorified wrapper around some Axios stuff, but it does make it easier to manage some of the different things like setting certain header values and dealing with cookies that get, applied, like if you change the account or that kind of stuff. So it does some stuff and has some like little helper methods too. But we'll update this to be Sky Lounge specific. And then get all our dependencies. So exists yet? Where are we at? Wait, what's it complaining about? Oh, it's the module thing again. Cool. Sky Lounge client. Type module should be right? That's what I did just do, didn't I? Oh. So let's see. We have these header type here hanging out. So address that. And then we'll just do a quick check for starter. Yeah. This stuff, I should probably be passing in. But for now, we're just going to do it like this. this is a fallback. Curious, anyone watching the stream are you listening to the tunes? Let me know in the chat if you want to. No need to be shy. So yeah, I think all the starter stuff is gone, so we got that. Just have to make sure that this is, yeah, everything's exported from there. Now we go to our Bluesky client. And we update this, and that should be good. Okay, so Bluesky client is should be pretty straightforward. Basically, we need to serve up the client metadata. So I consolidated all of that here. I'll look for starters in here too. But so we have our client name. This is like the stuff that kind of is used within the handshakes of so the Bluesky OAuth basically has to be able to access this public information. And I consolidated it here because we referenced it a couple of different times. Like you need to have it in your call as well as served via a page. So that's why I ended up consolidating it to this like get client metadata thing that you can pass some options into. So you can kind of configure it. But I'll show where we do this later. And then for now, I disabled some of this stuff because just didn't end up needing it, even though when I was reading it, it was saying that some of this stuff was required in the spec, but so far this has been working, at least for starter packs. And so we're going to go with it. Don't have a logo file up there yet, but I did create one that we can use. So I'm going to go throw it over in that directory real quick. So there's our asset directory. All right, throw that over here in the root here. That didn't go to the right spot. Move it. Logo. So yeah, so that'll work. Little sky lounge, little dithered sky behind there. Cool. So that's there. The whole flow actually, it actually took me a bit to wrap my head around how I could structure all the redirects that I need to do in order to get the Bluesky auth working. Because essentially, I ended up having to create like both stuff that's going on in the like I want to connect via the API and have that be my source of truth as far as like the URL that Bluesky redirects to, so that way I can capture their response securely, save it to the database, handle their, basically there's two things that kind of go in their flow. So you see here, here create Bluesky client. This is the node OAuth client. It serves up the client metadata. It also has this state store. So this is where, when you're initializing the request, you set like a temporary state that then gets reevaluated. So you have the setter. At some point during the flow, they will set this. And there was a point in time where I was just kind of setting this to like almost like a Redis type thing, but I wanted to actually consolidate it all to the database. And so now this does a post to an API endpoint where you can save the auth state. You can also retrieve the auth state, and then they do some validation on it. And then they also do a cleanup in here. So this whole flow is basically required to handle some of the handshake stuff. And then we have the session store, which is very similar. It can both set the session. It can also get the session based off the sub, which is basically, I'm pretty sure it's like the DID of the user, if I'm not mistaken. And then it can get it and then also delete it. And that's basically the two parts. You have the state store and then the session store. And that's how you wire it up with like however you plan on storing that stuff and then retrieving it. And all this other stuff is really, your grant types. I want a refresh token because I want to be able to keep this token live behind the scenes in the event that I need to do anything with it. So if you're on a call or something or chatting with someone, you can, and stuff's happening, you can, you don't have to like re-auth with your Bluesky account when that thing goes down. And then, yeah, so this is like the slightly weird part where I'm actually redirecting to a next API endpoint with a callback because I also need to set some stuff on that side. And actually, I don't know. I might have to reevaluate that. But that's what how I have it set up now. So we have the create Bluesky client. We get Bluesky. Now, why is this get? What's it complaining about? Oh, I see. It just doesn't like what it's returning. Or maybe it just doesn't like that return statement. Oh, expects 3. Why don't you just tell me what's going wrong? Oh, it just wants that? Although it doesn't look like it actually resolved it. Let's see if I accept it. Is there another one here? think there's some more stuff I need to grab over here. Yeah, we got a few constants we need to toss up in here real quick. So we have the node auth client, which comes from, pretty sure it comes from this library. And the Bluesky API URL, which is just that public one. That's good. Get rid of chat for a little bit. So create the Bluesky client, which is actually port. Is that resolving good? That looks good. This might be the reason why. I keep wondering why it's always coming up in French. I think I just solved it. Maybe I'm going to go back here and fix that on starter packs too. Defaulting to French is the language. Yeah, I guess we need Axios. I'm not sure why this stuff's complaining. It's just got to be some different type rules going on. Probably have to go in and reconfigure ESLint, but I feel like this stuff's getting close. I'm also going to have to run a migration on the database. So I'm going to have to re-review the schema. That's kind of where I left off last night. I was, trying to think of all this stuff. One of the things I was thinking about this morning is what was I thinking about? Oh, just like general. So, there's going to be these rooms. There's going to be potentially like a session. There can be maybe some session events. Then I was like, well, maybe I just actually use like session messages, and then those messages have a different type of like a system event or a system message versus like an actual chat message. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I'm gonna end up on that, but that's where my mind was coming from. Oh no, it's a different library. All right, sorry. Node auth client. You come from here. Wonder if I really have this. Oh, I do. Cool. So, all right, that's looking pretty good. Oh. Oh yeah, we can't have it be at the same address. That wouldn't work. So let's pull up the main real quick. Let's just have this run at 3002. Let's see. Yeah, do whatever it's telling me. All right, so Nest app is up and running. I'm gonna have to go in and actually configure some of this stuff because I'm not feeling. Don't want the global prefix. At the same time, maybe I do, maybe I don't. but I'm not. Just grab all the stuff I have in here. Because basically I configured this one to support local SSL stuff, which I'll probably, you never know, might need it here. I think I will need it here for to actually test the OAuth, because I think that needs a, actually no, not for local. Local should be fine. I just have to go to 127 instead of localhost. What's not like it? Okay. That's looking a little bit better. So that'll basically allow me to use some SSL certs. Not going to put those in the environment variables right now, but that's where they will be. So let's dig into, yeah, we have these endpoints, which is essentially, so we have a connect, and then if you basically connect to Bluesky, it will do the redirects, or it'll 500. Basically, once it comes back here and it gets the callback, it will then, check to see if it has a client. If it doesn't create it, it'll grab some stuff off of the URL, initialize an agent for that session, and then basically if the agent does end up having a DID, that means I know that I have a good, the session worked well, and I can request an authenticated access to the profile. And then here's where then I start getting into doing some stuff in my database where I check to see if I have a user auth. I also find where there's an auth session. And if there's not a user auth, then I'll create one and then set it to the name and the DID for that Bluesky account. And then I'll also create the user auth, which then is connected to that user. Oh, sorry, yeah. I'm creating the user, then I'm creating the user auth, and then associating it to that. And then I'm also updating the user with the default auth to associate it with. Probably, I may or may not need this down the road, but that's what I got. And then because I'm kind of trying to set it up for the potential multi-tenancy per user, so essentially the ability to be able to have a single auth, excuse me. Sorry about that. So essentially, since I want to allow someone to authenticate and jump between different accounts that they might want to have set up, which again, I don't know, this is like a totally hypothetical thing, probably not necessary, but it does create an account, which essentially associates it to their handle as like the username and set some basic stuff. Also set some as a member on that account, and then adds an account connection, which essentially just associates it back to the with the type of Bluesky and then like the token. We'll see if this data model holds up. My thought is like, let's say you want to connect to both, like have your account connected to one or multiple Bluesky profiles. But maybe you also want to do something weird where I don't know, you send like a notification to LinkedIn or something when you start a room. I'm not sure if every OAuth client will be as simple as just having, specifying the type and just basically storing the JSON payload that has the access token, the refresh token, all that stuff kind of bundled into it, or whether I'm going to have to come up with something a little bit more spread out. But I don't really want to, I just want to have it as like generic as possible so I can just connect to as many different accounts as possible. But so basically, if there isn't a user auth, we do all that. If we do have one, then we kind of need to go back in and grab the user, try to find the account connections that are associated with this, because in theory there could be many, and then reassociate it with that payload, and then basically sync the actor to the account. So that does some stuff. And then we do our sign in async stuff here. Set some cookie stuff. There's a starter thing. Again, there's the value that gets passed in for that via the environment variable would cut that, but good to catch it now. Let me just see if there's any other starter stuff. Oh, sync. Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't need to do this. So this is some stuff that I was doing, like basically when someone connects, being able to try to grab some starter packs and stuff that they have. I don't need any of that. I do want to create the actor, but I don't necessarily need to know that they joined via that. The one thing I was thinking about earlier that I think could be kind of cool is doing some sort of integration between starter packs and Skylounge, where maybe you can make packs based off of the people who participated in the room or even who listened in a specific room, either like during the call or during the conversation or during the session or whatever you want to call it, and or even like after the fact. Could be kind of cool. All right, so I guess we can still do all that stuff. But we're going to comment out all this. Hmm. Although I still probably I might want to have profile joined via starter pack URI. So if I did that, maybe I'll add that to the schema for Nectar. All right, so we got all that. And then basically, once it gets through that and it syncs some stuff and it generates the token that gets set to the cookie, it redirects to the website. And then right now I actually have it to where it kind of just sends you back to like a dashboard page. And it either has the connect with the the DID of the user who connected, or it will return it back with an error that could be that gets rendered on that page in the event that an error is passed in the query param. And so yeah, that's kind of the weird redirect path that I ended up having to take to get this all set up for starter packs. I mean, it seems to work pretty well, but actually, let me go back and follow that. I kind of want to pull on this thread right here. I'm trying to remember if this makes sense. Let me go back over here and look at the next app real quick. I may be pulling this over, but we will see. Oh. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think now it's coming back to me. So let me just confirm my suspicions real quick. But I guess I will confirm them if I actually see the client. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so this is where the redirect stuff really starts to come in. So let me go up here to the site real quick. We might have added. Yeah, we added the newsletter thing. I'm going to paste this in here real quick and I'll show you what's going on. So, and I'll paste some other stuff. So this is where it gets a little weird. So the redirect URIs that we pass here is because the client URI I wanted to actually have as the www.skylounge.social. And in order for the redirect URIs have to match the client URI base. And so it has to live at this exact same domain. And with that said, I then basically set up this redirect that lives within like the Next API to redirect to the API. And then in addition to this redirect, I also have to have, I'm going to make this a library, I think. At some point, I probably will make this a library. So I'll paste this in here. It also means that you see here I have this OAuth client metadata JSON. And those paths also have to live and be publicly accessible. So when I was talking about earlier where I had the get client metadata, and this is referenced in a couple different spots, I mean, it's referenced when creating the node OAuth client. It's also has to be served from a page in the on that same domain, that www.skylounge.social. And so I think that should be right. Oh, buildable libraries cannot import, export from non-buildable. This isn't a library. This isn't a site. This also might be another NX thing. A new NX thing, I should say. All right, so I'm going to have to set up a bundle around that library. Probably just do it to all of them, which is kind of annoying, but. And actually, so it needs both of these, but actually, I don't think this one is actually ever being rendered, and I also have it commented out of the client metadata. Yeah, it's JWKS. So far, it doesn't seem like it needs it. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but this page is not getting requested in this flow that I'm aware of. And I think I do have some values in the environment variable for these, but I'm not really 100% sure whether they're valid or not. But I don't think they are being used because I think because this is commented out, it's not like this is being required, I guess. So that's the gist of it. I was kind of hoping that the ultimate payoff would be showing the whole OAuth flow through, but actually we can at least make sure that these things are all configured. So let me make sure from like the connect module, we have everything we need there. So I'm not missing anything. Because yeah, it looks like there's some stuff that I don't have there. So we have our imports. And we are importing those. This passport module is coming from here. Okay, so we have these two. And then we have our constants, which are coming from the API Oauth. I guess I need to make sure that I'm exporting out those constants. Let's see. So we have them there. Yeah, they're not coming out. Oops. what else do we need in that module? I'm not sure why I was complaining about that. And then this is just exporting out JWT service and Prisma service. So that's looking, actually, no, those are providers. Sorry. Yeah, it would only export out the ones that it's actually, this module is associated with. So I think that's looking good. And then let me see from the service side. I might not have. Oh, yeah, I am doing some stuff. So this is something that gets called to essentially, it's a cron that will go through and refresh our connections to make, and then basically use the refresh token to make sure everything is up to date in the database. So we need to add that dependency. So yeah, it basically just goes through and does a little check on the auth session. And then we'll go through and make sure that those things aren't stale. Cool. What's a complaint about here? I'll dig into that. So yeah, and let's actually do the final bit here where essentially we on the app module, that's where you kind of plumb all this stuff in. So we'll go over here. So we'll add our connect controller and then our connect service. And then it also imports the connect module. And then we'll import that from our does that resolve that? Still kind of pissed out. Some ESLint thing is, or something's weird with this directory. This repo. Disconnect. Oops. Oops. I see. Interesting. So they changed the way that the that module got initialized with the skylounge int prefix on it. So yeah, NX has changed a few things, or the nest thing kind of changed. Yeah, so we need the connect controller, and then connect service. Still don't understand why there's not picking up on that, but that's the gist. And then there's some other stuff, but I haven't added the auth service and some of these other things in here yet. So, but that's really what you would need in Connect, assuming that this stuff was linking up right. But I'm gonna leave it there. So this wasn't the greatest stream, but hopefully it at least like helped explain how some of the Bluesky Oauth stuff works. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. Before I get on the next stream, I'm definitely going to figure out what's going on with some of my linkage stuff between these libraries and the rules that are going on. And hopefully that'll make everything go a little bit smoother. But yeah, I'm going to end it there. And in the next one, I'll actually show everything up and working, as far as I'll have the Bluesky connection working, and then we'll start digging into. I think my thinking is lead with the UI for browsing rooms and connecting to rooms. And then based off that, go back and refine the schema a bit and, mock up like what like the chat stuff will be, mock up what the events, like when, notifications when someone's joins a room or leaves a room or is promoted to speaker or, any of that kind of stuff. And just kind of start fleshing that out, almost kind of live wireframing / designing that whole thing. And then I think that'll inform the data model, as well as how I'm going to have to structure some of this stuff. So I'm going to be using WebRTC, obviously, as far as like the audio stuff. There'll probably also be Websockets, as far as like, I basically will make an API request with my WebRTC connection and saying that I'm going to join this room as like the host, so that my audio is like available to everyone who joins. And then if I get promoted, if I'm a guest or a listener in a room and I get asked to speak, then we'll negotiate the WebRTC stuff, get it up in there, but then broadcast it out so everyone can then start listening to that other speaker. And all that kind of like interplay between basically being both a listener and a participant and all that kind of stuff. Just start mocking some of that stuff out. I think it'll be some cool stuff to play around with. I'm thinking that there'll be almost like middle kind of communication manager where everything kind of flows through. Both like the API requests that are going up, those API like refetches and cache, or like local cache in the client, as far, kind of updating the status of those, and then that'll flow back into there. And I think even the WebSocket messaging stuff and broadcasting stuff will all be handled in this kind of like middle layer that will then flow back out through the app. Again, just kind of fuzzy ideas about how I plan on structuring this to kind of isolate that stuff to where it's all in one spot and not kind of like spread out across the entire app. But that's just my general thoughts right now. When I get back on this stream, which will probably be maybe not tomorrow, but and I don't know if I'm gonna do one over the weekend, but maybe next week I'll have my repo set up a little bit nicer to deal with some of these reference issues. And also it'll just, at that point, I think we'll be rocking and rolling on actually building some real stuff and playing around with some of these libraries and see which things will be, isolated to the app and the site, and also maybe what things that could be like available as open source packages to be able to integrate with Skylounge. So we'll see. But hopefully this is fun. I'm gonna try to figure out a time, like a more consistent time to do this stuff, and also maybe not do it like at 11 o'clock at night every night, but that just seems to be when things start settling down, and then my brain starts racing on some stuff, so I get a little anxious and start doing it. But so hopefully this is fun. This video will be up. Hopefully it helps with just like the general gist of authenticating with Bluesky, with this kind of client API setup. And like I said, we'll drill into actually start building out the UI and exploring what's going to be needed there to support that and make it as cool as it should be. But gonna wrap it up. All right. I'm Ryan Heffner. This has been a Jam Sessions Solos edition, and it's the building of skylounge.social. This is kind of the first official. Last night was basically building the landing page that ended up going out. It wasn't totally done, but it is up now, so you can find that at skylounge.social. And I will see you on the next one. All right. Have a great one. Later.